What is going to happen in Palestine, in Lebanon, in Syria, is the ultimate litmus test for the survival of the international legality of what we call the United Nations system of rules. It is true that multilateralism was under pressure even before. We had important states withdrawing from agreements like the Paris Agreement, from important treaties of control of armaments, but in the last period we have unprecedented attacks against the United Nations themselves. Prime Minister Netanyahu, and in no other place than in the General Assembly, spoke of the United Nations as the House of Darkness, as an anti-Semite swamp, and as the Flat Earth Society. This has been followed by the declaration of the General Secretary, persona non grata, and of direct attacks against peacekeeping missions, the Blue Helmets of the United Nations. And of course, we have the continuing humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. We have the recent attacks, more than 350 airstrikes in Syria. Fortunately, next to these flagrant violations of the international order, we have some rays of hope regarding the end of impunity. We have the important decisions of the International Court of Justice regarding the illegality of the occupation by Israel of all Palestinian territories after 1967. We had the important decision of issuance of the warrants against the Prime Minister and Minister of Defense of Israel. But again, we are at crossroads. Are we going to follow again double standards in that? The General Prosecutor himself has said that he has been approached by a high official who reminded him that his court, the International Criminal Court, it is not for Israel. It has been established for Africa and for thugs like Putin. Are we going to accept that we have indeed two categories of state, two different sets of international norms? We should not, because that is going to be the end of anything we know about the international law, international legality. There are some priorities now for the states. First of all, to comply with these important decisions, to stop sending arms to Israel, to impose sanctions for the expansion of the settlements, and to stop any thought about annexation in the West Bank or in Gaza. Moreover, an immediate recognition of the state of Palestine as a first and very timid step to a diplomatic solutions. It is a moment of decisions for governments, especially governments like the Europeans, which still claim that they are supporting a European Union of values, principles, and of law. But it's also a critical moment for all of us. We have moral responsibilities, and we must assume them. What I would like to add is that Syria is indeed part of a pattern. As Ben has said, it is another case of the lawlessness that Israel demonstrates in the area. Attacks without provocation against a sovereign state. But it is not just a part of what Israel is doing in the area. Syria is a case that interests above all its own citizens, who are involved in a very, very bloody civil war for more than 15 years now. The situation is very fluid. Many factors are present there. it was not just a conflict between various political, religious, ethnic groups within the country. It is another case of proxy war. What is important now is to have a full respect of the amnesty declared, protection of minorities, all minorities, but especially Christians and Alawites, and hoping that in the future we are going to have an inclusive future for Syria, including all the population, regardless of religious or ethnic divides. It is not going to be an easy task, but who could foresee just 15 days ago the fall of the Assad regime? Of course, a precondition for everything there is what all of us have underscored, the full respect of international legality, which is not just the sovereignty of states. This is, of course, one imperative, let's say, rule. It is also the protection of human rights of everybody, and especially the minorities.